Next, we move on to the plot breakdown of episode 213. Before watching, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps. Luo Feng went alone into the Yan Shen clan to retrieve the armor of liberation. At that moment, the Yan Emperor appeared. He decided to keep these armors for himself. He sent countless Universe Venerables to set a deadly trap for Luo Feng. With the opening of the primitive star approaching, Luo Feng was also preparing to enter and face the trials. But first, he wanted to increase his strength. So Luo Feng headed to the Yan Shen clan to meet his second senior brother, the Yan Emperor, and demand the return of the armor of liberation. With the support of these armors, Luo Feng's power could rise to a whole new level. In such a dangerous place as the primitive star, he would have far more confidence. Once, the sitting guest had entrusted the armor of liberation to the Yan Emperor for safekeeping. Now Luo Feng had become the third disciple of the sitting guest, so the armors should rightfully return to him. However, the Yan Emperor had no intention of giving them back. Right after Luo Feng arrived at the Yan Shen clan, he immediately exposed his coordinates and lured several powerful alien experts to hunt him down. Luo Feng began a series of instant teleports. He was already close to his destination when he suddenly discovered that all spatial fluctuations were completely locked. He thought that even in the main base of the ancestor cult, teleportation was impossible, and the same in the important areas of the human race in the original secret realm. Could the Yan Shen clan be the same? But then, the clan members themselves wouldn't be able to teleport either. Or did his second senior brother do this on purpose? Luo Feng's expression changed. He immediately entered the dark universe and flew toward the theoretical location. Luo Feng took out his coordinate locator and looked at it. He was stunned. The coordinates on the device jumped wildly from one point to another. A huge section in the middle had completely disappeared. Even worse, the coordinates in the same spot kept changing constantly. This method of hiding coordinates in the dark universe was dozens of times more advanced than what Hu Yanbo had used back then. Only now did Luo Feng understand. The Yan Emperor had both hidden the coordinates and locked the space. He clearly wanted to force him to fly the entire distance slowly, hundreds of light years. Even at near light speed, it would take several hundred years to arrive. Luo Feng realized that his second senior brother really didn't want to return the armor of liberation, just as he had suspected. However, he didn't attack personally. Apparently, he still didn't dare to openly defy the sitting guest. Luo Feng understood his reluctance to give up the armors, but excessive greed never leads to anything good. After all, the primitive star would remain open for a full 1,000 eras. He had plenty of time to calmly fly there on his spaceship. A few hundred years to reach the Yan Shen clan's main lair was nothing more than another training session for him. The Yan Emperor stood before the main hall. His gaze pierced through the void. He watched Luo Feng, who was calmly sitting inside his spaceship. In his heart, the Yan Emperor was slightly surprised. He had thought that the space lockdown plus the hidden dark universe coordinates would be enough to make him give up. But his third junior brother was dead set on coming to take the armor of liberation. If that's the case, then don't blame him for completely breaking off their relationship. The news quickly spread across the universe. The first to receive it were those in the glory world of the ancestor cult, where heirs from all major forces had gathered. The message spread extremely fast. One of the three elders of the Niwa clan immediately set off for the Yan Shen clan. Right after him, Fei Jinwang, upon hearing the news, burst into loud, delighted laughter. He had been waiting for Luo Feng to leave human territory for a long time, and had finally gotten his chance. Inside the human race, everything also exploded. Those powerhouses who had long disliked Luo Feng gloated, saying he was simply tired of living. Powerful warriors from all sides swarmed toward the area. But the Yan Emperor had prepared everything in advance. He summoned the 8-peak Venerable from the 9 Desires Alliance and ordered him to wait on the side. The Eight-Peak Venerable specialized in dealing with weaker opponents and was perfect against someone like Luo Feng. The Yan Emperor's intentions were crystal clear. First, let the bloodthirsty aliens who had rushed over attack. If they couldn't handle it, only then would the Eight-Peak Venerable step in. The Eight-Peak Venerable naturally agreed with great joy. Serving the Yan Emperor was an opportunity he had always dreamed of. The Yan Emperor stood in front of the hall, watching Luo Feng's spaceship in the void. In his heart, he silently thought, if his third junior brother retreats now, it's still not too late. But if he continues forward, he really won't be able to escape anymore. Luo Feng was calmly drinking wine on his spaceship when he suddenly received a message from Thousand Feathers King in the virtual universe. Thousand Feathers King, with an anxious face, told Luo Feng that his coordinates had been made public and countless alien powerhouses were now rushing toward him. After listening, Luo Feng just smiled, said thank you, and the spaceship continued on its way. Suddenly, the ship stopped. Luo Feng flew out of the cabin. A hazy, emerald-green glow appeared on his body. Through space-time perception, the Yan Emperor saw the scene and thought Luo Feng was about to escape via God Country teleportation. He even felt a slight sense of relief. But Luo Feng didn't leave. He simply summoned one of his alien servants, ordered the servant to leave through God Country teleportation, then returned to the spaceship and continued forward. The Yan Emperor frowned. He couldn't understand why he had sent a servant back. The first group of pursuers arrived. First came the chief teacher of agreement from the Yao clan. Then the wise one Niwa from the Niwa clan. Last to arrive was Venerable Ma Sha. 3 universe lords approached from different directions, all eyeing the treasures on Luo Feng. At that moment, the Yan Emperor suddenly shrank the space lockdown radius by 100 light years. Luo Feng immediately sensed the change and instantly understood. His second senior brother had deliberately let the pursuers in. Luo Feng put away his spaceship, instantly teleported to the outermost edge of the locked zone, then turned into a streak of light and flew inside. The chief teacher of agreement chased right after him. Wise One Niwa and Venerable Ma Sha also rushed into the locked area. The 2 lords chased behind, unable to teleport, and could only pursue at full speed. The chief teacher of agreement unleashed his law domain, trying to trap Luo Feng. But Luo Feng burned his divine power, and his speed didn't decrease at all. Venerable Ma Sha realized that this chase could go on forever, so he immediately activated his domain-type treasure. Countless sand grain-like particles instantly spread out and swept toward Luo Feng. Venerable Ma Sha laughed loudly and declared that the soul treasure would belong to him. This made the chief teacher of agreement and wise one Niwa grit their teeth in fury, but they could do nothing. Inside the main hall of the Yan Shen clan, the Yan Emperor calmly watched everything unfold. He told the Eight-Peak Venerable, if these 3 lords can't finish the job, then it will be his turn to act. The Eight-Peak Venerable stood respectfully behind him, watching the chase taking place in the void. The Yan Emperor knew perfectly well that this was the grand feast he had prepared for his 3rd junior brother. Whether Luo Feng could leave alive depended entirely on his own luck. Luo Feng had just escaped danger, but the Yan Emperor saw everything clearly. When Venerable Ma Sha's sand vortex tore Luo Feng into pieces, he thought the show was over, but Luo Feng reappeared completely unharmed in the distance. With a few flashes, he broke out of the encirclement. Venerable Ma Sha went mad with rage. The treasure that was already in his hands had flown away. No matter how hard he searched, he couldn't find any trace. Luo Feng had escaped thanks to his innate secret technique, Jade. This skill allowed him to merge with space and then reform his body. Even inside the locked zone, he could move at high speed. The 3 lords could only watch helplessly as he left. Inside the main hall, the Yan Emperor watched, and his face grew darker and darker. He called over the Eight-Peak Venerable. He had brought him just in case, but now he actually had to use him. Unfortunately, even the 8-peak Venerable was powerless against such an innate secret technique. Now the Yan Emperor could only hope that the other alien powerhouses arriving later could deal with him. To give them a chance, he even shrank the space lockdown radius again. Even he himself felt this move was somewhat shameful. But Luo Feng gave him no opportunity. Every time an alien approached, he instantly teleported to the edge of the locked zone and then drilled inside using his innate secret technique. The distance kept growing. Those who arrived later couldn't even catch his shadow. Luo Feng understood everything perfectly. He had prepared for this long ago. Before coming to the Yan Shun clan, he had sent his golden-horned beast avatar, along with all his treasures, back to human territory. Even if he died, it wouldn't matter. He had deliberately shown the Jade technique so everyone would know about this ability. This way, he could deter many people and successfully retrieve the Armor of Liberation. In the end, the Yan Emperor sent the 8-peak Venerable away, sat on his throne, and sulked in silence. He, a great universe master, out of fear of the sitting guest, didn't dare to act personally and could only resort to these tricks. And in the end, everything failed. He could only comfort himself. First, go to the primitive star and try his luck. Maybe he would find a treasure even better than the Armor of Liberation. But he himself knew that the hope was very slim. The primitive star had opened many times before, and he had only ever gotten ordinary items, not a single top-tier treasure, let alone anything that could compare to the Armor of Liberation. This hunting farce ended just like that. But Luo Feng's innate secret technique had now spread across the entire universe. With this technique, as long as he didn't encounter a universe master, he could survive quite a long time on the primitive star. However, Luo Feng himself understood clearly. Escaping is one thing, seizing treasures is another. On the primitive star, treasures appear and are won through real, bloody battles. Just being able to run is not enough. He absolutely had to obtain the Armor of Liberation. 10 years later, the primitive star officially opened. That day, the Chaos City Lord called Luo Feng for a talk on Thunder Island. Hearing that he wanted to go in alone, the Chaos City Lord was a little surprised and asked if he needed help forming a team. Luo Feng said no. A team of high-level Universe Venerables wouldn't help him much, and teaming with Universe Lords would only make them think he was holding them back. Better to go alone. The Chaos City Lord let him do as he wished. On the day the primitive star opened, Luo Feng still couldn't get there. He was still on his way to the Yan Shun clan and could only watch videos shot by others through the virtual universe. 100 passages opened simultaneously across the universe. Forces from all sides poured in. Then came wave after wave of bloody slaughter. In just over 100 years, 12 large-scale bloody wars had already broken out. Several hundred Universe Venerables had fallen, along with more than 20 Universe Lords. Only the Universe Masters remained safe and sound. Watching these reports, Luo Feng became even more convinced that his decision was correct. Without the Armor of Liberation, he would never enter. After flying for another month or so, he finally saw the legendary 3 continents. A silver-armored warrior from the Yan Shen clan soon flew over and asked what he was doing there. Luo Feng didn't bother talking to him. He simply released his divine pressure and suppressed him. Then he shouted toward the distant palace complex in the void. "I'm already on your territory. Show yourself!" The suppressed immortal warrior of the Yan Shen clan still refused to back down. Luo Feng saw that this ordinary immortal could still maintain his fighting spirit under his divine pressure and didn't waste any more time. He completely sealed the warrior's movements with divine power. Then he shouted toward the palace complex again, accusing the Yan Emperor of not daring to appear. In the distant main hall, a powerful divine energy wave erupted. The space lockdown covering the territory also shut down. A figure instantly appeared before Luo Feng. The one who came was not the Yan Emperor. but the Ice Blade Venerable of the Yan Shen clan, a powerful Universe Venerable. He first introduced himself, saying he was waiting there on the Yan Emperor's orders. He specially mentioned that as soon as he received the news of Luo Feng's arrival, he had immediately disabled the clan's space lockdown. Luo Feng sneered in his heart.
He knew this so-called lockdown had been prepared specifically for him. Then the Ice Blade Venerable asked Luo Feng to release the suppressed immortal warrior. Luo Feng immediately withdrew his divine power. He walked toward the palace complex. On the way, he asked where the Yan Emperor was. The Ice Blade Venerable replied that the Yan Emperor was currently on the primitive star, and suggested Luo Feng wait in the side hall first. Luo Feng's expression changed instantly. He directly stated that the young emperor was deliberately stalling for time. He understood perfectly. With the Yan Emperor's strength, returning from the primitive star via God Country teleportation would take only a moment. But he didn't make a scene on the spot. He still followed the Ice Blade Venerable into the side hall, wanting to see what game the Yan Emperor was playing. The Ice Blade Venerable ordered servants to prepare rare delicacies and fine wine, then turned and left. Secretly, he deeply despised Luo Feng's attitude, thinking that he was merely an immortal whose combat power was comparable to a mid-tier Universe Venerable, and didn't deserve to show disrespect to the Yan Emperor. Meanwhile, Luo Feng, left in the side hall, was also full of dissatisfaction. He was certain that the previous leak of his location and the pursuit by powerhouses from across the universe had been orchestrated by the Yan Emperor. The Yan Emperor had known about his intentions for a long time, but deliberately avoided meeting him, and was putting on a show with armors that rightfully belonged to Luo Feng. He knew perfectly well that the sitting guest was surely watching the whole matter. So he simply calmed down and waited to see how long the Yan Emperor could drag this out. He waited for more than a full year. The Yan Emperor wasn't actually busy with matters on the primitive star at all. He was deliberately ignoring Luo Feng, wanting to wear down this third junior brother's arrogance.
In his eyes, although Luo Feng had outstanding talent, he was still a junior and should show respect to his senior brother. More importantly, he saw a huge threat in Luo Feng and was envious. But what he envied most was the supreme treasure, the Star Tower, that Luo Feng would possess in the future. That was why he chose to suppress Luo Feng in this way. More than a year later, a powerful pressure that enveloped the entire palace complex suddenly descended. Luo Feng had finally waited long enough. The space-time around the Yan Emperor instantly shifted, and Luo Feng was directly teleported into the main hall. On the throne sat the majestic figure of the Yan Emperor. An invisible might pressed down on him. Luo Feng opened his mouth and said, "Second senior brother." In a calm tone, he said that he had already waited a very long time. The Yan Emperor stepped down from the throne and shrank his body to the same size as Luo Feng. The domineering aura deep in his bones was fully revealed. First, he gave himself an excuse, saying he had been fighting for a treasure on the primitive star and had been delayed because it reached a critical moment. Then, from the position of senior brother, he began lecturing from above, directly stating that everything Luo Feng currently had was given to him by the sitting guest, and he must not become arrogant. Luo Feng had no interest in listening to these empty words. He directly stated his purpose. He had come to take the armor of liberation. Seeing this, the Yan Emperor stopped beating around the bush. He immediately found a grand-sounding excuse, saying that the armor of liberation is a top-tier treasure. Luo Feng is currently only at the immortal level. His strength is too weak. He can't unleash its full power at all, and it would be easy to lose the treasure. He suggested waiting until Luo Feng broke through to Universe Venerable. Then he would hand over the armors. Until then, he could continue to safeguard them.
These words ignited real anger in Luo Feng. The armor of liberation had been prepared by the sitting guest for him from the beginning, yet the Yan Emperor was doing everything possible to avoid giving it up. He clearly didn't want to hand over this treasure. But Luo Feng still suppressed his rage and countered that even without the armor of liberation, he had survived the pursuit of powerhouses from the entire universe. With the armors, he would only be safer, and there was no need for the Yan Emperor to worry about him. Seeing that the soft approach wasn't working, the Yan Emperor's expression changed instantly. He roared loudly, accompanied by a soul attack that slammed toward Luo Feng. At the same time, he released terrifying pressure, wanting to force Luo Feng to submit with raw power. He kept saying he was doing it for Luo Feng's own good, so that the treasure painstakingly refined by the sitting guest wouldn't be lost. But Luo Feng's will had already reached the Universe Lord level and was completely unaffected by the intimidation. He stared straight at the Yan Emperor and asked, "Do you really not want to give me the armor of liberation at all?" These words struck the exact spot. The Yan Emperor's anger flared even stronger, but he still didn't dare say it outright. He could only keep repeating that Luo Feng's strength was still insufficient. Seeing this, Luo Feng stopped wasting words. He directly declared, "If the Yan Emperor refuses to hand over the armor of liberation, he will immediately go and report to the sitting guest. If the teacher says the armors should remain with the Yan Emperor, he will never come to disturb him again." After saying this, Luo Feng turned and walked toward the exit. This struck the Yan Emperor's weakest point. From beginning to end, he had never dared to openly defy the sitting guest's orders. If it really reached the teacher, he would be the one in the wrong. So he immediately took action, freezing space-time and pulling Luo Feng back into the hall. His tone softened as well. He said he had never said he wouldn't give the armors. He had only been giving advice. Then, reluctantly, he flipped his hand and took out the armor of liberation, allowing Luo Feng to take it on the spot. Luo Feng looked at the transparent treasure with mysterious patterns flowing across it and couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. He immediately reached out, wrapped the armors with his divine power, and imprinted his life mark. After fully recognizing the master, he instantly stored the armor of liberation into his world ring. He didn't stay any longer. He said a few polite words to the Yan Emperor and quickly left the main hall. He left the territory of the Yan Shen clan. The Yan Emperor stood outside the main hall, watching the direction in which Luo Feng had completely disappeared. His heart was filled with mixed emotions. On the surface, he had said that Luo Feng passing the life and death inheritance was just luck. But deep down, he knew perfectly well that Luo Feng had stood out from the wide net cast by the sitting guest because he possessed truly outstanding talent and character. Although he still felt cautious toward Luo Feng, he no longer saw him as a complete threat. His real goal was to cross that final step and become the strongest being in the universe.